without further ado, Ritu Bhasin.
Unity Rally, you look beautiful! First, I want to start by recognizing my privilege. There were brown and black-skinned people who got up this morning and wanted to be here, but because of fear of the state, fear of the police, fear of violence, and fear of their citizenship, could not be here. And I honor them, we honor them, and we should recognize our privilege in being here today. As a diversity professional, I'm repeatedly being asked, what can we do to interrupt white supremacy as people of color, as Indigenous peoples, but more importantly, as white people? And today, this is what I want to talk to you about. But I want to go to the root, to the heart of the matter. And my number one takeaway for all of us today is the importance of cultivating love, but more importantly, for cultivating self-love. Simply put, white supremacy is an ideology that white people are better than people of color and Indigenous peoples. It is an ideology of hate, and as you know, it's an ideology that is taught. It is an ideology that permeates all of our systems, our practices, and our procedures. But in order to interrupt the system, we must interrupt individual behavior. This is a movement of disrupting individual behavior, which we all have a part of. Which is why we must cultivate self-love. And in fact, my most important message and takeaway for you today is this. We hate others because we do not love ourselves. We do not love ourselves because others hate us. Let me say this again, because this is critical. We hate others because we do not love ourselves. And we do not love ourselves because others hate us. Which is why the key, the clutch, is self-love. Individuals change the system. If you want to change the system, you must love yourselves. This is a movement that we all collectively have responsibility for. Self-love is a collective responsibility, but we each play a different part. So, for the people of color who are here today, the Indigenous peoples, here's what I leave for you. I know that we're angry and that we have rage. And I understand this because I am angry and I have rage too. And anger and rage have a place. But they alone as emotions are not enough. And in fact, anger and rage will lock us and prevent us from doing the critical healing work that we must do in order to be empowered. And empowerment as people of color and Indigenous peoples is the primary thing we need in order to interrupt white supremacy. Because if we are more empowered, we will lean in as opposed to lean out. We will raise our hands. We will seek self-respect, and we will demand what is rightly ours. By being lifted, by being elevated, by being empowered, we will thrive and grow and flourish as communities. We will gain power, and power is what we need to interrupt white supremacy. So my message for you today, for us as people of color, as Indigenous peoples, is that we must celebrate and cultivate self-love. Be authentic. Know who you are, embrace who you are, and be who you are, especially what makes you different. And then for white people, you too must cultivate self-love. It is the number one thing you must do after today. We hate others because we hate ourselves. We fear others' differences because we fear our own differences. You must, as individuals, cultivate your own self-love. Get comfortable with your own differences so that you can recognize and understand and value other people's differences. But as white people, it is not enough for you to cultivate self-love. We need you to do more than that. And there are 3 other things I want to request of you today. People of color need you to listen more, hear our stories, hear the lived experience and the sting of what racism and oppression feels like. So please, hear our voices, make room and space for our voices. The second thing we need you to do is to speak out about racism and oppression when you see it. It is not enough for us to do it. We need you to speak out too. And then the third thing we need you to do is to interrupt your own racism, your own biases, your own blind spots. Interrupt your privilege, because the one thing that you have control over is your own behavior. So please take ownership of how it is that you contribute and perpetuate and uphold a system of white supremacy. And then the last thing I have to say for every single one of us who is here today is the following. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Audre Lorde. Love must be our new tool after today. Self-love must be our new tool after today. Embrace your differences, resist conformity, love yourselves, be authentic. Thank you.
Thank you.